created a very robust set of 3D objects that are obviously functional. You built a basic little something in minutes, and you know, that's functionality that tons of users are looking for. Are you sharing this with the community? Or?
Yes, it'll be released. It will be released. I just want it to be, you know, correct before it's released, and people start working with it.
The chat room's asked what runtimes will be supported, and will it be free or paid for?
I wanted to work on Android, and that's something I'll persevere with. When the Android runtime is slightly more stable and I can work with it. I did consider the Java runtime, and I'm definitely considering the Anaconda runtime, because I think it will work really well on Anaconda, because it's already using OpenGL and I don't have to create main context.
So, just to clarify, would you insert mins of a GL object and then these would hook up with it, or is this separate extension?
Well, it's a collection of the base object, which has a load of drawing routines in it. These OpenGL objects also have drawing routines and the context, and it also has a whole set of code in the background, which I would expect users to sort of use by default. So you would get this sort of basic level, and you would clone it and then you would edit it, and that would be
This is separate from min extensions.
Yes. I mean, can you open the tank example?
Yeah.
So you need a context for one. I mean, you don't have to use mix context. I mean, looking at the context itself. I'm using these lighting objects. I could include lighting. That object at the top, that's what I've written. You've got all of these options for like fogging, skyboxes, 2 times, 3 times, not 2 times, 2 times, 4 times, and 8 times pixel mode. So it sort of upscales by twice as much, 4 times as much. Got like material settings, near plane, far plane settings, viewing angle, that sort of thing. So you don't have to do that manually or anything. So I know a lot of people, or the people who have been interested in these sort of objects have been using Xlua to do all of this coding. And it's not very easy for people to use, I don't think. I think it's a lot easier to have an object where you just select what you want and it runs it for you. But it does depend on the code in the event editor, which sets it all up for you.
I guess, yeah, what kind of events are involved with this? Just because of
Don't take a look. Open the event editor, please. So that is, yeah, an OpenGL. So we've got like the create context events, and we've got some event called creating the initial display list for you. You say you don't have to use this engine for one. I mean, I've just said, well, we've got this concept of having backdrop objects. So at the start, it runs all of these backdrop objects into a single display list, and then that's done for you, and it will render it it will draw that display list every frame, or when it wants to redraw, which is by this callback.
So, I mean, MOS doesn't really have a concept of functions like classes or anything. So you have plans to abstract away a lot of this, well, what we're looking at now, the event is. Do you plan to abstract it away?
Yeah, I've considered it. If I lock it away in an extension, then it makes it less easy for people to modify it themselves.
Yeah, I suppose you have different separate extensions which encapsulates.
Yeah, I guess that's a good idea. I think to have like a separate extension. If I find it difficult to interact with the objects from a single extension, I mean, if it's all in one place, then it's quite easy. But if you want to sort of talk between objects, I think it's quite difficult. I don't know if you can do it. Or most characters I'm not. I'll have to find out. Any more questions?
Another question. Is there any correlation between display sprites or modules and actives which are represented? So for example, in a display space, if I would click on the apple, which is rendered, will it notice that I'm clicking on active object.
No, but it could. It's OpenGL is it's not a, it's just a rendering, it's a graphics API basically, and because it's all modular, if someone wants that functionality, it's very easy to extend it that way. So it doesn't have to be part of the core object, it can be something that can be built over time. We as a community will not lose anything that way, because we've seen efforts in the past to produce reasonable 3D effects in multimedia fusion, and they just seem to haven't materialised because there's just too much work or they're too difficult to work with. So I think we'll get a solid set of base objects to start with, and then people can progress from that.
Are you planning on releasing the software?
Maybe. Not publicly, but I don't mind people working on it. It's just, I wouldn't like to see it fragmented.
Okay, we're going to have to move on to the next talk now, so thank you very much. Okay, next up is Thomas with his sensory perception game. Just bear with us while we set this up.
I think your HDMI cables are not disconnected. That's good. Tak. Cables get messed up. Okay, yeah, I'll turn this on. Just a second. I first need to change one thing. Don't worry, I just need to change one little thing in my talk, so literally one sentence. No, keep it with sure. Yeah, no.
Ready.
Cool. I'll just check one thing. All this working. That's important bit. Okay. So you can start. Okay, so you've got name of my presentation like it was called by Simon. And I'm at the moment studying digital games design at Buckinghamshire University. It's in Fabryka. So I'll just show you a plan of my presentation. First one, pretty much everyone asks me how to pronounce my nickname. So that will be the first part, somehow, just about me. Then some talk about the project itself. What it is about, what problems I got, some credits, inspirations, and understanding and demonstration of the whole thing. Okay, my real name is Tomasz Kaczmarek, better known as you know what. Usually people don't pronounce it, they use fun or something like that. And it's because my nickname is created by magic of 3 words: fun, another, RPG. Like you see, there are some letters bold. I just removed them and created one word. If someone wants to pronounce it, it will be something like another RPG or whatever. And my project is called Senses, the Art of Understanding, Chapter 1, ISA. It's an experimental adventure educational game, and it's presented from first-person perspective, but you're playing as a blind person, totally blind person. So you may think, okay, if I'm blind, I don't see anything, but if I don't see anything, how I want to do it in first-person perspective? It's a bit confusing, isn't it? And here we come, what problems I have. I'm using heavily Register extension. It's only stable extension for 3D, which is available for multimedia version. The rest of it, like looking up NGO object or min objects, where discontinued, Matesh is going on with his Stone Goose extension, so it's good. But problems with Register are that there's lack of any documentation and proper examples. There are some limitations of the extension itself, which I created a tweet on the forums, which was quite important for me. I had problems with time schedule because it was my project for university. And actually, my tutors didn't get the idea, and I followed my game design module. So it's quite heavy, but also the problem was to represent graphically blind person perspective, especially senses of touch and hearing. So how it works? Register provides 3D space based on 2D map with 2D sprites. So it's pretty much working like Stone Goose extension that you get 2D map, and on that base we are rendering 3D graphics for the environment. It only allows to rotate horizontally with rocket mouse, so usually you cannot just move a cursor through it. Sprites are always shown from the same direction. They're always facing the player, which, like you'll see, is quite good in my project. There's no alpha channel support, and there's no connection between actives and their sprite representation, which was quite crucial for me. And this is why it was my question to Matt Ash, if he's got that in his Stone Goose extension. Because, like you see, it's quite important, but we found a workaround for it. This is level map from Wolfenstein 3D. Like you can see, it's top-down, dots, whatever. Wonderful, isn't it? And this is how the game looks in real time. So like you see, we've got 2D map seen from top-down, and then it's changed to sprites, which are layered one behind another. And the issue with that is that your only action is in the straight line in Wolfenstein 3D shown by a gun. But for example, like I wanted to make adventure games, I wanted to click on the object. For example, on that flag, on the character on the left. It was a problem just to make it working, because there's no correlation between sprites and actives, which are their representation. And it was quite complicated as such. So I'd like to give some credits. Clickteam for creating multimedia fusion, which is a great extension. Wersja for believing in 3D in multimedia fusion. Like you see, you're not alone. People are using Register, Min-Modeling extension, Matesh is doing. So we also believe that there should be 3D implementation in MMF as such. Daniel Ray for programming Register. Digital for his attempts to make advanced examples for Register. To my friends for the experience. Daniel Gish, I'll show you later on a movie about him. And Niklas for all his support on several levels of the project. Also some special credits for people who helped me code the thing. Lucky for his surround sound extension. Yes, you'll be now able to create surround sound for your games, which will be very helpful for 3D projects, but also shooters. So we are able to hear what's up front you, what's behind you, what's around you, if you've got different 5.1 setting at least, like this one here. Some of the guys for helping me just with coding some of the ideas based heavily on trigonometry. Inspirations. My friend Marzena, whose brother is blind, and she was telling me about herself. Myself, I'm not a healthy guy, and I know that it's quite complicated to have any health issues. I'm happy that I can see, that I can walk, that I can breathe, that I've got 2 hands, 10 fingers, whatever. But I know that it's quite hard in this world to live with any trouble, and this is why I wanted to make such game. Also, I'd like to thank BBC and Pro University staff for listening, believing. I've got a full movie if someone would like to watch it. Yes, welcome. And also, Daredevil. It's character from comics. If you see it later on. What's the aim of the project? It's destroying the myth that blind people don't see anything. Also, I want to use it as a proof of concept of my BSc thesis. Are game graphics important? Analysis of blindness in computer games as a new experience in interactive medium. And also start a discussion about just different disabilities between game developers. Because we've got quite a lot of games for blind people. They're mostly audio games as such. But there is not so many games about blind people or people with different disabilities. Just people, they're treated as taboo topic or anything. And game developers should be using a medium to say what they think, declare themselves. And those are my aims. And I just wanted to make, before I'll show you the project itself, a small interactive work with you, then small interactive work with a volunteer or victim if no one would like to agree to help me. Presentation of other authors' attempts in different mediums, and finally, alpha version of the game presentation itself. So, if I can ask all of you to close your eyes, as such. I'll try to speak as loud as I'll be able to. So,
Please, sure. Close your eyes and tell me, if I'm standing in one place, I'm walking. Anyone? Walking. Okay. And behind you, up front you, and behind, up front. Okay. Can you tell me, let's say, give us what you've got here in the hands, what you've got? iPhone, I guess.
what is it?
Probably an iPhone, right? Okay.
iPhone. How do you know it? That's iPhone.
Yeah, it's an iPhone that has this pattern. Okay. Sorry? How do you manage to get to know that it's iPhone? You can see it.
No, but it's this pattern. I guess that's just to see.
Okay, you're used to seeing that. And can someone try to, I don't know, take the hand up front, just front, pick it up and try to catch something before you, just without saying, just try, if you cannot reach anything, just try stronger. For example, Chris Street, try just to catch something before you. Yeah, a bit more, okay. You've got, what do you feel? Temperature, texture.
Cold, mental, I don't know, what sounds? Thinking about the chair.
Okay, it's it's a very simple example. You don't see things, but you can still hear me. You can still touch something, describe it, temperature, shape. If it's something you're familiar with, like for example iPhone, chair, you're able to precise it. You're able to declare what it is, despite the fact that you can't see it. So at the moment I need interactive work with volunteer, so I'll just go to the presentation of other audiobooks attempts for this medium. I was asked to rush a bit with the presentation, this is why I'm just going forward. There are two games which are showing this medium. One is quite a common idea that a blind person cannot see anything. Our aim is to reach that sound, which is coming from somewhere in 10 seconds. So on the base of the sound which is coming, I should go somewhere. And now we can see where I were and where I was going. So like I said, it was just, I should get into that pink point in the middle. But actually, I was missing it. And that's quite common that blind people don't see anything. Different attempt, quite interesting, was a game made in Game Maker. Made in Game Maker, but the guy very limited by, like you can see, we see something. What it looks like, that thing in the background. Can you describe it, precise it somehow? In theory, you're a blind person after accident. There's just some kind of rustle around. People are leaving some steps. I'm going into waterfalls. But it isn't a full manner game. It's like you see, just perspective will change in second, and that sort of platformer. So it was more experiment of showing the idea rather than full game. This is seen from movie Daredevil, which presents my character, who is blind after accident, but thanks to chemistry things which taken away his eyesight, he is able to hear much better. And like he describes, thanks to that it will be raining and raindrops are leaving little sound, he will be able to hear how she looks like. So like you can see, he doesn't see precisely how she looks like. He only sees the places where the sound is left. When he sees the raindrops. But thanks to that, he's able to get know how she looks like. Touch her, compare, touch, not hearing. Here we've got Dougan, who is one of the people who is blind from birth, pretty much.
About my first eye at the age of 7 months,
Was
and
able
my
to
second at the age of
create
13
a
months
qualification.
to retinoblastoma, which which is a retinal tumor.
So he's blind, but he's
I don't know
very
his memories at all.
Although Daniel is completely blind, he's developed a remarkable ability to see, using his sense of hearing alone.
People do express surprise at a blind person cycling. I think that different people are good at different things. And I was good at cycling, but I wasn't much for ball sports.
It's part of that whole movie is Seeing Believing, which talks about illusions and such human location. And now I'll just show you the project, which won't be able to be made in Game Maker as such because of its limitations. And in multimedia version, thanks to register object, which is very limited inclusion to Mateshwan, we were able to work out a way to do it. So like you see, you don't see pretty much nothing at the moment. But if I turn off the layer of the register object, you'll see that there is a map. You can rotate, you can see other objects, but when you go back to the register view, you have to be close enough to objects to see them. You can say accompany of the sense of touch. If you are close to object, you can feel, for example, if you are close to other person, you are able to feel presence without seeing that person or hearing it. So if you are getting close to something or someone, able to see it, or even try to detect it. I'll now cheat a bit, just to show you something. That's a view without being blind. So like you see, all the objects are created from the word descriptions. Unfortunately, I was rushing in the presentation, so actives as actives aren't as good in the quality of the textures. Whereas, for example, walls got a very precise description of what's going on. So at the same time, we've got different objects we can interact with. For example, here we can touch the TV, so I can hear that I'm touching it or turning it on. And like I'll be going away thanks to his surround extension. The sound is disappearing. It's still playing, but because I'm too far of it, I can't hear it. So, for example, if we are in the place where is multiple sounds played at the same time, we can get very confused. We don't have trouble because we can see what's going around, but if we are blind, it makes a little trouble. So let's showcase it in the toilet again. As a seeing person, I'll try to turn on water in pretty much everything what's in here. Like you hear, sounds are coming from everywhere. As for a seeing person, it's not a problem because you can look less source of the sound is it a sink, is it a shower, is it a toilet? But if I'm blind, I won't be able to do anything. And it's getting confused where the sound is coming from. So you can get lost. And the main idea of the game is that you'll be put in the environment as a blind person. And you need to just find your way out or do practical things. The thing which I was asking for object detection, for example, if we've got several objects shown, like here, shower, sink, desk. Normally in Register we aren't able to detect them. So for example, if I want to make an adventure game, I won't be able to, I don't know, pick up objects, interact with them, because I will always need to be faced straight to it. But if I don't see it, it doesn't mean that I can only have my hands up front me and look like a zombie. No, it doesn't. I can have my hand on the left hand side, right? So we work out on the detection system, which I also need. The sink, shower, wall, desk. But to make it, we spent about 2 months just to make it working as such. And it was quite heavy because of lack of interaction. Because like you can see, the green square, standard active object, is the place of the detector over the sink in the register itself. But you can see on the map, you've got that void detector where his dotted lines and where's the sink. Sink is over here. Detector is just over here. So even if I try to do collision between both detectors, it makes a lot of trouble. And it was quite complicated just to make it all working in a perspective view, because also you've got something like when you're trying to do that sort of the thing that you've got 2D represented in 3D environment, you have to keep an eye to that D of the level, which is that Z axis, is a Y as well for the objects. So you cannot check the head of the object because you're going deeper, you're going behind it. So if I'll be going into it above the sink, like you can see on the map, the detector is going higher. It's not stopped. Its value is not increasing that it's going higher. It's moving into it. So it was also the different difficulties which caused that the project for university wasn't as good as this presentation here. And it brings some other issues as well. But I agree, for example, with Nicholas as well, that sound system in multimedia fusion got some flaws of it, some very tiny millisecond delays. This is why I requested Luki to create audio extension. That audio extension will be available for free for everyone, and it's called surround sound. It's not limited to playing surround sounds as such. And just to show its possibility, creation of surround sound is very simple in that. You have to select a driver and initialize the system. At the moment it's selecting the default driver, which is 0. During initialization you are creating sound, and then for example you can play it, or you can play it at any moment in the game itself. And at the moment we've got, when the channel is playing, we can set the path of it as well as volume based on distance. So in the game it looks like will try to lower the volume. So, just going quickly, we've got source of the sound, which is that sound playing, and we've got character. Depending on the character position in relevance to the sound source, as well as angle, the sound will just be coming between the speakers, which, if they will be set properly, if we'll get surround sound here working, will be represented that sound behind the player or above the player. So I'll now try to face my character. Toward the song, and like you can hear, it's playing in the middle, but like I'll be rotating, it's getting quiet in here, it's moving to other speakers. Now it's left backward, just behind me. Now it will be right backward, right one, again center, and going like that. So thanks to that we are able to create sounds even for top-down shooters, and you know where everything is happening, and you can play the game. So it's better used for not only 3D games, but also 2D games, even from a isometric perspective, anything like that. And it's very simple to use, and we hope that people will just like it, and we plan to release official betas sometime tomorrow or the day after. We just need to make just 1 or 2 examples just to make it running. And if anyone will have any questions, we are happy to answer. Just keep in mind that that surround sound is based on F mode library. So it won't be as good for commercial licenses because it will be expensive, but we plan to change it for a bus maybe in the future. But at the moment it's just proof of concept that you can get something more from MMF, much more. So that will be all.
The people on the chat are saying they like the concept, but obviously the surround sound doesn't go down their streaming. Would you release the demo so that they can have a look at it?
Yeah, we plan to release open source demo of the example. I'll put it that way. I'm myself a person which is always trying to release all his games as open source. So even my project for university, that blind game, whatever you call it, also will be available as open source, so people who like to use Register also will have a chance to do it. But that other stuff should be available online even later on today. I just don't know what Loki thinks about it. Will be able to release it today, or will be able to release it today? I think so.
Extension?
Yeah.
Well, we could release it after, but it's not really that something. So you could do it if you want to.
Or maybe we can just put as proof of concept example that it works. But so we are trying to improve it on the web. I'll just show a few functions of that extension for people.
Thomas, we're going to have to...
It will be just less than a minute. Less than a minute usually. So we've got system and selecting driver initialization and closing. In general, all channels. You can choose channels as you like, by numbers, or if you're more comfortable, by names. So for example, you can create a channel background music. Sounds, you can create sounds, you can load them externally to memory. You can load them as stream just from your hard drive, but you can use also built-in sounds, for example, from default sound system into the diffusion. And that's pretty much it. Also when you're setting a plan for the sound, you've got channel, standard is 128 channels. That's even maximum for, I know, StarCraft 2.
Nice, that's a minute.
I know.
We're going to have to stop now. Okay.
Angle and distance. So, any questions? Welcome.
Now we're going to have to move on and leave questions a bit for the next ones because we're running short of time. Thank you very much.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Chris. You might know me, you probably do know me as the most corrupt and lazy admin at the Daily Click. And I've been corrupt and lazy by doing this presentation, so I've left it to the last minute. It's a three-part presentation, all about my game, Mr. Stumstentures. I was supposed to be running it on the Xbox, however, there have been some technical issues, so I've not been able to do that. But I'm going to show you the first game I made, first of all, back in 2004, to sort of show you yeah, this is what I made in 2004. It's pretty shoddy by today's standards. It's just a basic platform. It took me about a year to make, and I really hyped it on quite a lot. So there's just not much to do except run and jump on bad guys and things like that. It's a bit shoddy. I'll show you the second level quickly.
Yes.
Anyway, I did it on purpose that time. Now you might be wondering why I'm showing this. It's because with the XNA runtime, which I've been a tester for the last few months, I've decided to try and remake the game from scratch. I tried to port over my second game, but it ran really slowly with a lot of issues and a very poor frame rate for the time being. But this is what I've got so far. This is not actually the XNA runtime. This is just still in multimedia fusion. I'm making this one big. This is Master Stumstentures. It's it's just basically a remake of the original with really basic graphics and a stupid story, which I haven't quite done. It took me 2 days to do all this, by the way. So yeah, it's pretty crude and basic, but that's the style I wanted for the game. It's sort of Yoshi's Island sort of style. So it's got remixed music and different graphics and things like that. I'll quickly play through the whole thing, because it's not actually that long. In the actual runtime itself, when you jump on things like springs and things, the controller will actually vibrate. XNA runtime has the ability to do this. So there are some differences in the game. The engine is tighter, everything's improved apart from the graphics, which are probably worse, but it's Microsoft Paint style. This is Chris Streaky's advice. You must brush your teeth up to 3 times a day. If you don't, your teeth will fall out and you may get bad breath. Not much point in me putting that there, but get the mug on there. And this is the second rule. This is, I want to show the difference between the graphical style and the engines and stuff like that. Just 2 minutes. Oops. Sorry, I didn't do that. Right, so that's pretty much all I've done on that, really. So it was meant to be on the XNA at one time, running on the Xbox, and I was really supposed to be handing out my controller to everyone in the front row to try it out, but that wasn't the case. So that's that. And now I'm going to show my main game, which I've been working on for quite a long time. Okay, it's quite loud, but anyway, can you hear me right there? Nice menu. I won't play all of these levels because they're decreasing some of them from previous conventions and things like that, but I'm just trying to sort of do this quickly so that everyone else can get their presentations in. So I'll just do this one. The main difference between this version and the last version is the music, pretty much. It's big remix, it's no longer MIDI, it's OGG. So yeah, you saw super stuff there. Anyway, I'll find another level. This one. This wasn't actually shown at the convention last year. The gameplay is meant to be. I'm stealing ideas from the Sonic and Mario games, like I always do, always steal things. But I should say that the sound effects, the music, the engine is all my own work. It's just the ideas I've stolen. Of course, if you stand on it here, you sort of get squashed. I'll go for another level quickly. It's all been cobbled together, so I haven't really had time to change the images. They've all scrolled automatically, much like the game that was shown earlier. You've seen some of that. I'll show you this stage now. This is the most recent stage I've been working on. It's actually, I'm really proud of this stage because I love the graphical style of it, I love the music. I'm quite proud of this one. And I'll show you the bonus stage as well. Through each stage you have to collect Stumpy statues, and it's one in each stage, and if you get all of them you get access to the bonus stage. And here it is.
I'm just going to turn the volume down a bit.
Thank you. So you get all the gems in that stage, and then you get you clear the stage basically. I'll show you one more very quickly, and that's a boss stage. It's not quite finished yet. There's still a few little things to be sorted out. And yes, this is stolen from Sonic. It's sort of right there. Yeah. Halfway through the stage, each boss stage, there's a transition that takes place. In the first boss, for example, he bounces around the screen. God. It's a slow compute. No, it's not that. I'll explain something. So that's pretty much it, really. So yeah, that's my presentation. Is I haven't been prepared for it or anything. Has anyone got any questions at all?
Do we plan to release it on the Xbox?
Which one? What, the one I just played?
Yeah.
I want to, but I've tried testing it on the XNA runtime. It's very, very slow and sluggish for the time being. I'm trying to sort of iron it all out. So for the time being, it's probably not going to be, but that could change. The second game that I was showing, the remake of the first game, that probably will be on the Xbox, and I will hopefully get that at a nice cheap price. One thing to note is the signing up for the App Hub membership is $99, which in UK money is about £65. If you do it by 65, if you pay in the UK, you have to pay taxes on it for some reasons. It's actually £75. So that's a year's membership. You have to pay for that to get the game onto the Xbox, just to try it out. Any more questions? Yep.
When you finish it?
Yeah, I say I said it, yeah, don't I? I say I'm going to finish it, and then I don't. So I can't answer that question. I'm not going to give a release date, because every time I do give a release date, it's never finished, and I'm lazy, very lazy.
Well, it's close.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's it, I think. Thank you very much.
And finally, concept game for the Clickteam questions.
So hello everyone, I'm Dougan, alias Concept Game on the forums, and I want to show you my current game project, which is Cardinal. It's a role-playing game. And since I'm alone in this project, I try to keep the game not too ambitious, and that's why I focus on 2 points, the story and the gameplay. Since I didn't go deep in the story aspect, I will show you the gameplay features of the game. So in this new game, there are 3 main screens in the game. A map screen, a world map, where you can see some missions. There's small squares here, and as you can see, simplified. There's no exploration phase in this screen. There will be 4 areas in this role-playing game based on the cardinal direction: east, west, and south and north. There's a second screen. It's typically an inventory of 2 heroes. There will be in this game 4 heroes. Here you can see 2 of them. So your central inventory, we have. So yes, I forgot to mention that this game is, the background of the game is in a world of floating island and floating boats. That's why there's two things for a hero, each boat and the hero itself. And here you can see this equipment of the boat. with 4 features for characters, for statistics, else, defense, attack and luck. It will influence the battle system. So this is the second characters. We get back to the one. And here I will choose this mission. Simple one, there's nothing to say about the story at this time. And let's begin the battle system. On the left you have the 2 heroes, and on the right the enemies. So they are coming in waves, so that is the first wave. On the top of the screen you have a timeline, the actions, square, etc. This is actions. The actions are performed from the left to the right. By clicking on an action, the menus are displayed to choose an element. Each hero has 4 elements. It can be powder, wind, fire, earth, something like that. So I will choose gunpowder on this enemy, but element can only be applied on the hero to support or boost one characteristic or another. So the green cycles, it means that only the heroes can play these actions, and the other ones are for the enemies. So I choose actions. Which one? Now I can start the battle for the first round. Oh. I will try. Something buggy at the moment. What is it? Okay. So after that is the next turn, and until you kill all the enemies or the heroes are dead, can choose another one. So at the bottom you have the icons of the hero, of the enemies, and of the heroes. The green part is the health, and the second one is the defense, the armor of each hero. So the second enemy was killed, so the next wave is coming. Here the enemy has chosen a support action on another one. And one hero was dead. Okay. I can use so much to say about this. As you can see, it's not finished. There's a lot of work to do, and I've prepared something to show you what's coming next. Okay. So there will be new units to fight against, new items that you can choose and upgrade in the inventory, new heroes. There will be 4 heroes, there will be bosses, there will be new gameplay features. In the timeline, you will be able to fusion 2 actions with elements, for example, wine with fire and other elements. And there will be the battlefields on the ground. Okay. That's it. Do you have any questions?
What do you plan to do with this game? Is it freeware, commercial?
I don't know at the moment. It depends on how many features I will implement. For sure, it won't be more than 3 euros. That's for sure.
What platforms?
At the moment, for Windows, and planned it for iPhone. So there are some extensions that are not working on the iOS exporter at the moment. I will do some refactoring of the game system to comply with the iOS exporter.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and finally we'll have Clickteam questions and answers. Who's coming up?
Someone has to read it.
Okay, what about Fusion 3D? Well, it wouldn't be a click convention without being asked a question at least once. And I think the answer you know from previous conventions. When you start an MF3, we've already started. Assuming that's the only question, that's fine, that's all you need to know. Oh, excellent.
You know what the real question is, don't you?
Yes, but they didn't ask that. Will MMF3 support the use of else statements, like other programming languages? I think that's in the suggestion box. It's a possibility, definitely. Will MMF3's global event editor function on par with the frame event editor? What exactly would that mean?
Yes.
So they will have all the same event functionality.
I think what they mean is sometimes the global events take longer in the cycle than the events in the frame. The events in the main frame editor take precedence over global events or the individual object events.
Sure.
Well, they need to come into the list somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So MF's running.
I think we can certainly review that and see what options we have. I think there'll be a few instances where we have the event list and we make improvements to that, say to enhance code reuse, and then we'll evaluate these decisions when we come up with these new features. Do you have any plans for an SDK or scripting to extend the MMF3 editor? Maybe.
Chris might have already started on it.
Well, no, I don't think it's really the case. It's certainly, it can be done. There's certainly enough libraries around it. We can do this and it wouldn't be too painful, but is it worth it for us and also for you as developers trying to work with the NMF3 and other changes that you make to it? So it's open question, no answer here. Do you have any plans for a built-in scripting system?
There's been a big discrepancy.
My answer is no, and our message is not going to change today. Does Clickteam have any plans to abandon backwards compatibility?
We won't abandon it. Chances are the MFA compatibility will be some kind of importer. Yeah, if there will be any incompatibilities, we will certainly notify the user of this, but we'll try to do our best to import the old MFAs into MFA3. Like certain extensions maybe would get built-in functionality in MFA3, and you can maybe translate that when converted.
Such as when fast loops were introduced, that people had to type themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of user suggestions have been made for MMF3 already on the forum and Fusion Wiki, etc. Which of these is likely to get added? Is there any plans for more complex things?
Well, we have so many sources of requests.
It would take us at least as long to develop MMF3 as it would be to tell you which ones we're going to consider why and such.
How long is your MMF3 wishlist?
I know.
Will MMF3 be on discount for MMF2? Same as that, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. CTO.
Will MMF3 add the option to play more than medium wave? Well, MMF2 has that option already. It's not going to change. It's going to improve if anything.
Although MP3 obviously
that requires a license.
Yeah.
So that's a separate question.
Not more limited.
For MMF3, why not switching runtime coding to .NET or Mono?
Because we have a better idea for MMF3's runtime coding.
And also, it doesn't make any sense to rewrite it as we would have to use it in .NET. So we just choose the most efficient route and also the most performant route. That's not necessarily through .NET. Is MMF3 going to have the ability to code extensions widgets with its own code? We think it's a great idea.
We love the idea. So.
It's just coming up with a good interface to make that workable, which is the real question. Will MMF3 support on collision, where the collision coordinates are given? If so, where will they be accessed?
The problem with that is that a collision doesn't happen in one single position. If you have two objects that begin to overlap, that they have a big area that overlaps.
Especially if they move very fast and just go like that, and then you have the whole area that's overlapping.
Or if you have multiple points touching at the same time, which point do you respond to?
Can you not take the average position?
That's not always meaningful. For example, if you have a convex-shaped object and you have like a ball into a claw, you've got 2 points, and the average is in the middle, which is not being collided with at all.
They're not always useful, but I think in some cases.
Sure.
I wanted to add something about it, because you tell collisions has bounding boxes probably, and multiple target points. So what if you have just one bounding box for an object, and you can check for a coordinate set in that box if it's overlapping. So not collision on edges or something, but just an X and Y pair, which is in the bounding box, and which can tell, hey, it's overlapping with that object, or it's not overlapping. Because I think that would mean the question.
I mean, in theory, that could be possible, but it might not be something that we implement due to performance considerations. It's not a common thing to require.
We'll obviously give everything some thought and just see what's practical to implement across all the runtimes as well, because we have.
Yes.
And just maybe on collision, it's like we've got now alpha channels in the active object.
Yeah.
Option like that, called it mask, and check collision with that mask. So the mask shape would be different from the graphic which is displayed. So then, for example, users could just set coordinates as point pixels, but still be transparent space, normal space. And we've got with the action as just active, we have to now modify graphic to make pixels transparent.
Yes. Because currently what you do to simulate that is you have two active objects. You have the one that is the display and then you have another which is the collision mask.
And merge it as one and then check collision.
I think that was asked last year and I don't remember what our response was, but that's a good idea. Yes. Next. Will MMF3 finally see a major redevelopment of the printer objects? It's seriously outdated? Yes, it is, and there's a large number of features. List them, but if it's probably not a priority. We'll see. We'll see. Will MMF3 include the sub-applications to allow more than one child's really Windows-like?
What does that mean?
So you can already nest about.
Yeah, I think you could already do that.
Yes, you can already do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if not, then perhaps you can explain on the form the question submitter. What exactly you're looking
for?
for.
Like modular, I believe, is the
Right.
in your apps properties. Then you can have many sub-apps as you want.
Will MMF3 work with the Flash plugin? Yes. But you might need additional exports the same as MMF2.
We don't know what the pricing models will be for MMF3 yet, so it's too early to understand.
Yeah. Would there be any nice new additions to the animation editor in MMF3? Most likely.
On the last one, I had the idea that each frame in an animation, you give it a duration. Right now, each frame has the same duration, so if you want to have a picture displayed for a long period of time, you have to clone it, which is really, really odd.
So you can code it as well. Give that frame word for.
Yes, but it would be a really good idea if you could just say this picture, this animation frame, just show it for 2 seconds and then begin animating again without any code.
Okay. I'd like to see MMF more externally organised. You can import graphics libraries. I would like to see the same with events. Good idea in theory. Again, it's going to be an interface issue, as well as if you have a set of events which includes objects, you have to figure out how you're going to import the objects with these events.
But we will have an open file format instead of the MFA, which is a big binary blob. So, I mean, that's possibly a positive move towards that direction. Which,
that's up in the air at the moment.
Yes, that's true.
I would like to import my events in graphics library between frames and between project files. No reason why you shouldn't be able to do that. Do Clickteam have any plans to implement vector graphics into MMF3 alongside the last ones which have been in the software, so that we can play? Opinions?
There's no reason why it wouldn't work as an extension.
I think an extension would be fine. Any plans beyond that?
In any case, MMF3 should have a much better option for more user interface control for extensions. So maybe you will see an extension with a complete integrated vector editor. I don't know, but it will certainly be possible. It is possible right now, but it's more cumbersome.
It's got to be feasible for extension developers to use to be worthwhile. Will all the present exporters be compatible with MMF3? If you purchase an exporter for MMF2, will you have to buy it again for MMF3? Quite likely.
But again, we haven't decided on anything pricing or anything like that. So.
Yes, but it is an upgrade, and you're going from MMF2 to MMF3. For example, all the exporters have to support the new features of MMF3, so you won't get that for free. In MMF2, we need to add an extension to every frame in which you want to use it. Will this be handled better in MMF3?
Like local projects, not in frame.
I suppose we probably improve that.
Yeah.
It could be improved, and it might well be improved. It depends on what
probably
stage you go in.
so
Yeah,
the extension needs to support it at least.
I still think the announcement of the 3D game maker would be the 9th best thing to ever happen to me.
Good.
Yes, I agree. But what's the plans for the Android and XNA runtimes?
I think XNA is going reasonably well.
Yes.
And Android's plodding along. No, Android's actually come a long way. If you're a tester, you probably you stick with quite an old version of the runtime, so I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by the next beta. And
I have a question from the chat here from Adam Dougan. Says, is there a possibility that the Flash exporter in the future will employ some technique to compress images better than it does now? Because currently, the bitmap-based compression, the projects quickly become very large, and most Flash sites have a 10 megabyte cap. Can you address this?
I think they're stored as PNGs.
Yeah.
So anything else would have to be lossy. Which,
yeah. I believe the choices are being in JPEG. So
JPEG wouldn't be so
possibly, but unlikely to prove that much.
I think the main problem, the size of the runtime is pretty big.
When comes the HTML5 exporter? I think Jamie answered that. Hopefully by MMF3 it become a worthwhile prospect. Who knows?
We found this one.
The built-in movements are sometimes a great foundation, but can be hopeless due to bugs. Will there be an improvement there in either MMF2 or 3?
I think that this is where we're going to remove some backwards compatibility because bugs aren't really features.
I think if we do go for the modular kind of extensions can be written in events kind of system, then movements would be a very good candidate for that. But that's just speculation, really. But there have been some great ideas from Nicholas and people about this, in which movements would be a set of events that anybody could just modify if they weren't happy with how they worked. But honestly, I think it's too early to answer that one as well.
Will we see improvements with the active objects? I'd like to place an active object within an active object.
Make it a little bit smaller and increase the active object.
I guess he wants to group them together.
Yeah.
And act on them as one single
object. Grouping active objects or objects of any type would be a useful feature, but again, that's a problem with presenting a good interface to the user and preventing a grouping scheme that makes sense as to which objects you interact with in the group, or whether there is a composite object with all the properties of the different objects like qualifiers. So it is possible, but they're too early to say. Did Clickteam ever consider making a new product that's used as a traditional scripting language under the usual Click-style methods? They did. Yes.
We won't talk about that.
With a lot of work and effort in new builds, exporters, etc., will there be a lot of things left in the dust, or will there be a point in time where updates can be made to things like current exporters?
Well, the current exporters are being continually updated and we have new builds in a few months.
About the quiz objects, an updated and Flash compatible version would be nice. I can't remember. Is there anything in the works? Anything planned? I don't know.
Another question from the chat. Jacob would like to have clarification on whether you'll get upgrade prices on exporters when you go to Multimedia 3.
We don't know, as we've said.
That's for the sales prices to talk about.
But I'm pretty sure nothing like that's been decided.
And another one. Will there be the ability to group objects in the frame editor so that you can hold the button down, select an object within a group, and it will select all the other objects within that group?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, if that's something people really want. Yeah.
That's from Game Master.
As an important icon to programmers and designers worldwide, have you ever... Next question.
Use even go one deal.
What is happening with the ActionScript dynamics object? You cut support for flashbacks a really long time ago, promising the new object was right around the corner.
Well, I made flashbacks was impractical because it requires a very in-depth knowledge of how the ActionScript engine works, for one. And another was that it broke several parts of the runtime because it required changing the way the Flex compiler works. But I did make a new SDK for writing Flash extensions, which you don't need Flex Builder or anything, and you don't need a C++ compiler. I need to write more documentation on here so that people can actually use it. Although I believe people have been.
Yes, but obviously not enough people to know about it. Will the Flash exporter in future support floating point movements / rotation? It can do. MMF3.
I have another question from the chat from Stephen. It says, does Clickteam have any plans to expand their marketing, more publicity, etc., and updated demo, for instance?
I believe we have people working on that. Not the demo, but publicity and marketing.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of work in the USA side going into
definitely.
But what about the demo? Yeah, updated demo.
Yeah. Will there be a separate extension developers program for accessing new SDKs? Possibly.
I suppose the situation with the SDKs at the moment is a bit, but that's mainly because with a lot of the runtimes, it requires distributing the entire runtime source code to release an SDK, which has implications. But I think we're in the process of deciding on a license to use for the runtime source code, which is something from Small Product recently. So I think you should be seeing changes in how access to the SDK works soon.
When Clickteam will support natively codec 3 formats like OGG3 or VP8 to play audio and video.
We support VGG.
That's the
video.
Audio format. This is the video format. Fiora, I don't. Well, if someone wants to, if we introduce a video codec plugin format like we did with the sounds, then this is certainly a possibility. Possibly.
I think it's an extensions job really, so whether it will be something that Clickteam do or a third party, whether it will be number 2 or 3.
It depends on whether the, for example, with the existing direct show objects is good enough for people to insert their own videos automatically, or whether we will need a dedicated object.
Chris Barter is working on Windows.
That's a good point.
But also for Mac,
and
those Fiora and VPA are not only for Windows and Mac, but also for Linux.
Yes, we
so it cannot be dependent from DirectX as such.
Then I think it's quite likely we'll have to implement video in some fashion so it can work on Mac or other.
Because a lot of developers tried, mostly because of Midclass, to make extension work better, and they failed because of some issues with MMF itself.
I don't think the issues were with MMF itself. I've seen the source code to one of the first Fiora extension, and I think it was some heap corruption in the Fiora library or something that stopped it from being released. But
they're not the easiest libraries to use.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with MMF that stops a video extension.
No, it just seems like for us, we don't know programming side of things.
Yes. If unbelievable happens, hardware acceleration merged with standard builds, when can we see, when can we see the Unicode version attached or providing iOS and other exporters for fully compatible Unicodes?
Yeah, is Android compatible with Unicode? Yeah. Okay.
So because you didn't update Android object, it's crashed.
That's an update in the next beta. Actually, in the next Unicode update, the edit crashes are fixed, and it was a problem with MMF2 as well as the edit crashing.
It was a problem with the JSON files.
It was both MMF2 and the edit SDK that have been updated to fix the crashing.
Still, I would like to thank you for updating Headed, because most of developers already updated their extensions. And only your Android object and handles created by name stay as not updated, but I know that Android's already released update.
Well, Android, the Android extension needs to be updated in the Android installer, so be safe.
Another question from the chat. Game Master says, will Multimedia Fusion 3 have a Games Factory counterpart?
There will certainly be multiple versions. That's all that's decided.
And Stephen says, was a decision ever made regarding Vitalize dropping it or was supporting or updating?
No, I don't think Vitalize will be around very long. No.
Sure, that'll be replaced by the options from Multimedia Fusion 3. It's going to output all of that.
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense for us to continue supporting it when we have other exporting options.
Of course, in Multimedia Fusion 2, it still lives, but not for Multimedia Fusion 3. And there was someone who used it a lot in his Multimedia Fusion 2 products, and we can't really just stop support for it right now.
But the effort to maintain a browser plugin with all the browser quirks and things is just, I don't think it takes a lot of Eve's time to maintain Vitalize.
What are the likely prices of the XMA and Android runtimes? Android runtime, I guess,
I don't think it's been confirmed yet,
No,
so we won't say anything.
it would be speculation.
It will be I think Android will be more than Flash, but less than iOS. This is what I did last time.
Will anything be done so that several people can work simultaneously on a given MMF3 application? Yes, this is planned. It's already somewhat possible, but...
Well, the open MFA format means that, well, instead of an MFA, you'll have either a folder containing all of your game's assets, which will be the event as some kind of markup, possibly JSON, images as proper image files that you can just, which means you'll be able to use it with version control, and you'll also be able to build a single file, an archive, if you want to distribute your application.
MMF2 is mainly aimed at people new to game development. Will MMF3 change this? Will you try to keep the power users and make moving on to other languages less tempting?
We always try to make it more powerful.
Yes. We want people to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. And if that benefits power users, that's ideal. Question?
No, I wanted to comment on that one if you don't mind.
Sure.
I think with especially several of the demos we've seen today, Multimedia Fusion can be for power users and can do pretty much anything you want two-dimensionally. So I think the question's kind of a good point.
But in response to that, I have to say that, for example, if I want to look through a bunch of objects, I have to put out like a condition for like every single event, just to figure out the correct one and run that loop. So in one sense, to me, it's really tempting to move to something else.
There are quirks and limitations. Sorry? There are quirks and limitations. Obviously, we're going to try and...
Yeah, exactly. What I mean is that even though it's powerful, it's like, yeah, stuff like that. For me to make it a lot more efficient is kind of important if I'm to stay in the MMF.
Yes, I think there are definitely things in MMF which could be made more efficient for the power users, because you can get into a situation where you almost have to understand the limitations and fight against them. Hopefully we can improve that so it's easier for them the power users to achieve what they want, and also make it as simple as possible for the rest of us. Will there be an update to the public SDK, and will there ever be a transition SDK?
Wasn't there a transition SDK?
I thought there was. I saw a couple of maybe.
No, I don't think
was there not?
The problem is now we have we have the standard runtime, we have hardware acceleration, and then there are a lot of runtimes. I'm not sure how viable
transitions would work completely different for each platform.
We have like OpenGL rendering, direct 3D rendering, software rendering. Flash. We'll think of something different for paragraph 3. Yeah.
How essential would creating 3D be, assuming it is planned and not very essential? Was it Clickteam's reaction to the patent trolls issue mentioned by Anne?
This has anything to do with Clickteam.
I understand that Clickteam may be out of manpower, but when do you plan to update and keep updated demo versions of your software? The demo will be updated in the future, certainly. What's the Clickteam's plan for the educational market? Certainly there are quite a few plans.
I think Clickteam's doing a lot in the educational market. Yeah.
What are our plans? Continue forward. I mean, we're seeing massive expansion in the United States with educational use of products, and we'll just keep pushing forward in that market.
Continual growth and expansion.
Yes.
We've heard a lot of talk on the forums about people who are like Clickteam's only focusing on education, you know, that they take care of the end user, that kind of stuff. If that question is framed for that discussion, then the answer is the only reason we sell to the educational market is so that we can saturate young users with the tool so that they'll want to purchase it when they get home. The focus has been and always will be on the end user.
I don't believe we need. I don't believe we're focusing on the educational market or the end user market. We're just. I mean, MMF is a tool that can be used equally well by both audiences.
And it's not really an educational market. It's just people developing games and applications using our tool.
So when we just about that question, because always when there's discussion about the educational market or expansion, we talk about US. And talk about different countries where we still got development. And where, for example, US enough software is quite big because of its price on local environment and the Poland. Unfortunately, where I'm trying to promote with the decision between universities and expos, conventions, not only for Clickteam users which know the software, but mostly for users which are from opposite camps, like in NATO, UK, and promote MMF for them to bring them to our community.
Due to the volume of educational sales we have in the U.S. market and the breadth of growth that we could experience, we are piloting a program that we're going to announce soon, but I might as well just mention it now, where we're going to try to bring on commission-only salespeople in much larger numbers than 3 people. That position, if it works out well in the U.S. market and they represent the product correctly and it equals more sale volumes, then we will look at implementing that program in other countries. So it's all growth steps. So the next potential community country that would we would seek to possibly implement that would probably be the UK. So we would work with Jason to build that sales force. But we have to see if it works in the US first.
Oh, thanks. I'm saying it's usually it was about only US. I was thinking how to work out outside. So thank you for the indeed answer.
I think the growth in the US is going to fuel the growth worldwide.
Yes, good experimentation. So to see what works, what doesn't, not to make the same mistakes outside.
Well, it's hard to, like how many sales do we have total in total, honestly? You can just, guess. It's like under 100, right?
It's under 100.
Okay, so it's hard to experiment in that market right now. So whatever we field in Poland or other small markets, we have to make sure it works first. The US, we have plenty of sales coming in to be able to do some experimentation with what we're doing. So yes, that is constantly on our mind, that question.
Rest assured, we're also looking at countries that don't speak English as their primary language. We just have to go through these steps.
Who all works with Clickteam and what do they all do?
Well, we all work with Clickteam.
They do.
Yeah.
Well, you got Jamie, Chris Branch.
There's
the other guy.
I don't see you as well. Well, we got a lot of folks now, so I have to check over it, and they do all the programming. Francis and Nico. Nico does a lot of artwork for us. Francis is the, I guess you could call the company comptroller, right? Okay. Jeff, as you know, is the president of the U.S. I've worked in sales. I work on the education side. And then Jason is head of the entire United Kingdom. So, you know, as we grow, we'll add more positions and so forth, but pretty much what we do. Well, we all kind of do a little bit of everything too, though. So just because I'm in sales doesn't mean I don't spend 3 months testing for iOS or, you know, various other things. Same thing for everybody else.
And all of our new hires, as you can see, have been in the programming department with Jamie, with Chris, with Andos. That's where the education sales funding has been focused on getting more programmers. And getting these guys on here full time.
How big is Clickteam? Question answered. Will you expand?
Yes.
Yeah, ideally. And 3 questions and answers. Oh, it's Luke. Let me rephrase that. 3 questions. Yes.
Will MFA3 support shape stack?
I don't see why it shouldn't.
It's quite likely that we'll use OpenGL nearly everywhere, considering we'll be using it on iOS and Android because we have to, and Mac. So on Windows, there's probably no point in using Direct 3D. So I suspect that GLSL will probably become the de facto programming for the shells.
So, yes.
Will there be a Linux version of MMF?
Not plans.
Well, we'll be using cross-platform libraries. So if there's demands, then you know it's just rolling off another build, really.
Yeah.
Just to that question, as far as I know, Richie is using Multimedia Fusion API on Linux.
Yes.
He doesn't have any trouble with it.
The performance on it on Wine isn't that great.
No, it isn't, but he doesn't have any issues as software related.
No.
So you can use MMF on Linux.
Well, you can try running MMF in Wine, but you have problems with the export.
On the virtual machine and use Multimedia Fusion. That's technically what Wine has to do it.
Wine is not a virtual machine, it's an implementation of the Windows APIs.
What I will say is that while it may work through these compatibility layers, it is still not supported by us, and that's the main distinction.
Also, it's pretty, even if it is pretty easy to do Linux runtime, making it will still require us to have support for it and all that stuff. So we have to figure out the pros and cons before we release such a version, if there's high enough demand for it.
That's it.
Yes. Have you figured out how the extension SDK for MF3 should look like? Is it? I mean, I hope it's going to get better in terms of the API and so on. We probably don't have an idea yet.
We don't have a great idea at the moment. We're still experimenting with different approaches.
The current thing we've been experimenting with is scripted edit time, which would mean that somebody would be able to write an extension. Say if they only want to target the action script time or something, they could just write, instead of using a C++ compiler and everything, they could just write a few lines of, for example, JavaScript. And then MF3 would use that to for the edit time, and then whichever runtime they implement would be separate from the edit time implementation, which would make it a lot easier for people to
make sense. Yeah. Okay.
And obviously, if we do go to the extensions written in events idea, they instantly support it on all runtimes. So a lot of extensions that are just like arithmetic and things could be in events. Hopefully, that's something we'll be able to do.
2 questions.
Yes.
In all seriousness, is there any indication of which year or half year or quarter you're expecting MF3?
Not this year.
Okay.
But as soon as possible, really. It's full speed ahead. And we've got many more programmers than
Sure. Once we have the exporters that are currently in beta released, then you'll start seeing some major progress being made.
And the second question I have is a question that I asked on the forums that seems to be contentious because some of the people disagreed with me. Just said it wasn't possible, and this is with regards to producing native iOS code. It's now within Apple's terms legally.
Yes.
It can be done with Flash CS 5.5.
Well, currently MRF2 is a virtual machine, the runtime, and we have our own bytecode format and things like that. MRF3, we're looking at alternative possibilities which will result. I'm not going to go into the details because, well, it's both too early and we don't really want to put too much away. But we will be looking into technologies that will allow us to build native code for the target platform, which would mean we would be building ActionScript bytecode.
Sure. And hopefully that would bring
x86 executables.
Yes.
Just to say, I didn't realize that the three of you were working with Clickteam. That's great to hear. And where do I send my CV?
Just nag Jack for a while, he might give you a red star instead of a green star.
Works for me.
So maybe,
yes.
Like my question, what about multiple hotspots and action spots for objects? Which
Multiple hotspots doesn't really make any sense. Hotspot is the origin of the object. If you set the position of the object, that's the hotspot. Having multiple action points, on the other hand, makes perfect sense, because you can have a point where bullets will be shot out of smoke some other point. I know.
Sure. I think that gets passed every year as well.
I think so.
Is it likely that we'll see multiple action points?
It's not being ruled out.
It isn't hard to implement, so there's a lot of things on the wish list that haven't been either confirmed or not.
If we implemented everything, we wouldn't have MF3 done this decade.
Just question, more maybe an explanation about that multiple hotspot. But I was thinking that because quite often, like now we're working objects, we arrange position of one object in accordance to different objects. So like there was a question about grouping several objects to create one. It could be used by multiple hotspots. For example, say make right hand be positioned in accordance to hotspot number 5, left hand.
I think that would be easier to do with action points, because I think you don't want to confuse the issue of where the object is located and where the image should be placed with where should you place other objects relative to the first object. That's the problem that action points solve, and hot points doesn't make so much sense to.
And maybe just make games to keep backward compatibility, hotspot 0 as that one hotspot for the object itself, and the rest of them just as
if you group objects, I don't know. We haven't discussed it. I think this kind of design question is something that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, we need to see what would work and what makes sense for the user.
We'll just try to fire away some. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you're going to make the event code JSON, how are you going to like represent that? Like how would I, as a model, like make a script that makes in JSON that?
Well, I guess when you get OS3, you'll be able to save an application and have a look at the event.
Sure, but there are ways of representing, because you have to enter the data in somehow, so there are textual representations of data.
But when you have arrays and objects in JSON, so I guess we probably have an array of events, and each event is an object.
And each parameter is a different object, so different kinds, that kind of thing.
But either way, you'll be able to load it with whatever JSON library you want, and instead of having to pass the binary MFA format by reverse engineering it.
Oh, by the way, thank you.
Is that all?
One more question. Basically, I'm thinking, like the last question said from the back, that the issue with promoting multimedia in different countries
is that by default, MMF itself is in English.
We have
Is
multiple
it planning
translations
to
of it.
have, make it a bit easier to translate, but that we have to, in Poland, we have to hack the source of multimedia fusion itself and translate it by hand, I don't know, by external files, like ini or something like that.
I think we decided quite early on we'd like to have support so that the user can translate the English into their own language if they wish. So users can contribute their own translations.
Like it's in case of instant creating.
Yes. There's a question about debugger. Will you develop the abilities of debugger, so, for example, breakpoints or something like that?
I think this will come with the improved event system. I suppose that a debugger will have to be improved to match. Because obviously if we have functions, we're going to have backtracing. We'll see what happens, see how it evolves.
Yeah, it's hard to say at this point.
Anyone else?
That's all. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Chris, and I'm a Multimedia Fusion 2 user.
No, some of the questions that were asked were concerning our plans, right? Like the education market, promotions, and things of that nature. So we're going to take that, we're going to spin that into an announcement of sorts. Everything that you've seen for growth with Clickteam in the last year or so has been due to, obviously, our user base supporting the tool, and that's what got our 3 new programmers. That's what got you the exporters. And we're finally in a position now where we can really start trying to mount, so to speak, an assault on professional developers. Okay? And to support that, we're going to attempt. It's been advised to us that before we do a booth at GDC, yes,
Mr. Holder,
Does everybody in the room know what GDC is?
raise your hand if you don't know what GDC is. Okay.
GDC is the Game Developers Conference. It is a, okay, who here doesn't know what the Tokyo Game Show or E3 is? Right. Put your hand down. So, where Tokyo Game Show and E3 is a trade show to market to consumers, the Game Developer Conference is a place for game developers to market to each other. Okay? So when you go to a Game Developers Conference, you're seeing the latest software tools, you're seeing the latest developments that the hardware companies are bringing forth so that other developers can jump in and figure out, you know, where they want to make their moves as far as what platforms to develop for and what tools to use. For instance, when we were there this year, we went to visit, Unity had a big presence there. So we believe with all our exporters that will be done by then, God willing, that it's a good time to try to make that move. What we're asking is for all our users, and obviously the users that are listening online, and you guys in the room, it's been suggested to us that if we do this Game Developers Conference, we should also muster up a user's entry of some sort of game to the Independent Games Festival. Does anybody know what that is? I know you do, because you've already submitted one. Okay? So Clickteam would like to offer out to anyone who thinks they have a good game idea and the ability to get it done before February, to give us a contact, any one of us in the forum, send a PM, and we want to look to support that product. Because we want to have a really good, solid entry to also showcase at the same time we have a booth there. And that's pretty much it. If we can succeed at GDC, then that will bring in more cash, hopefully, which will enable us to get Multimedia Fusion 3 done faster and get you know, better updates and better exporters and all the stuff that you want. So, any questions on that?
This isn't a question, but I might point out that the games doesn't have to be finished for participate in the competition. Most of the entries are actually works in progresses.
That's a good point.
And also note with that one is that the GA entrance is 1st of October to the main competition, and you have to pay for $60 or something like that. And for 1st November is for students, which is free. So if you want to entrance IGF and promote multimedia fusion, you have to do it way before GC itself takes place.
Of course.
So,
and as far as the whole fees and everything, you know, that's where Clickteam wants to
sponsor
the entry.
Also, just one request, if I can have myself personally, is to point out in the games and software which we are making that it was done in multimedia fusion. Even small quote in credits and effects, because I saw a lot of beautiful click-made games, but they weren't putting out information that they are done in multimedia fusion. I know that it's one of the points in the contract for multimedia fusion developers, which was quite a big issue with iOS exporter for a move splash logo, but I think that we as game developers, we own it to Clickteam for doing software for making us game developers. But it's my own personal opinion.
Clickteam thinks that's awesome, you know, but we have the runtime agreements in place. If you don't want to use the logo, you don't have to. If you do make the next Angry Birds or, you know, Call of Duty 3 with our tool and it blows up that big, of course we would love to have our logo in there. But, you know, it's a nice thought. That'd be awesome. If we sponsor your game and you do decide to do that with us in helping us with GDC, yeah, your game will need to have the logo and that'll be part of the sponsorship. So, any other questions concerning this small announcement?
Yes.
Can you just repeat the deadlines? When was GDC again? When does
I don't have the exact dates in front of me, but GDC is in February, but the entries, as you mentioned, October and November, depending on the type of entry.
Entrance is 1st October. Okay. Students 1st November. GDC usually takes place from 22nd February or about 3rd March. It's end of February.
It's a week long.
Awesome. Awesome. Those are dates roughly.
It might be.
I'm pretty certain it's the second or third week of March.
And when I said, you know, have a completed game by February, that was kind of like saying, have a completed game by February, but I expect it not to be. But if I told you to have a beta by February, then we'd have a lower quality beta. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So target a completed game. We don't expect one, but that's, you know, we're putting it out there that we'd like to have it done. Does that make sense? Shoot for the moon, end up in the stars. All right, well,
thanks for listening.
Okay, well that's concludes the convention. Thank you very much for coming. Anyone who's coming for curry, if you could just wait on the bar out there and then we'll walk you down. Tomorrow starts at around 10 o'clock. There'll just be a period of game jam and stuff before we start the... Yeah, we're going to have to go out through a front exit somewhere. No, and once you're out, you're out. You can't come back in tonight, so...
And on your way out, there's some shirts back here.
Yeah, there's
sizes.
Clickteam shirts up there for everyone. And thanks to everyone for watching online.
Simon, just a question. Where Game Jam will be taking place tomorrow? Here?
We'll sort that out tomorrow.
Chris, I'm going to run off. I need to walk. I need to walk and get out. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll catch up with you sometime.
In my bag, on a green bag, there's a HMV disc holder. I'm going to give you one of these. It's basically everything that I've done if I'm using it.
Play with unreleased stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what a presentation, even if it didn't work.
Stuff. It's just the way it works. So it's quite boring now, isn't it?
When you guys regular stop freaking out my country. Yes. Oh, we're going to yeah. We're actually talking about something with one fusion where we had an idea that basically takes over the object market. They'll still let users produce objects and release them on their own. There'll be sites for that. But one of the things we're talking about is having official regulators. And then we can control when the user disappears, we'll still have the source code and all of those, so that they don't do things wrong. And it's just a repeat of another object with a different name, and most people won't see things like that.
Yeah, I would be able to provide more.
Yes, yes, I mean, ideally, it's really it's hard, but you've got to present it in its place, otherwise people won't press it. Yes.
Furry.